Cheaters have been around since gambling began in the United States. In the Old West, you had to see the cheat to catch it, and justice was swift. Today, thousands of cameras police every moment of every game. That means cheaters have to be slicker than ever.
The technology just seems to be never ending, and the biggest challenge for us is to keep up with that technology.
It's a high-tech game of cat and mouse. But every once in a while, a criminal comes along who's able to fly completely under the radar, and in the process, changes the game forever.
These men and women would justify, stealing in all sorts of ways. The casino industry is dishonest or some other nonsense, and they would talk themselves into being okay with stealing.
Keeping track of the city's most notorious cheats is the job of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. Their version of the FBI's most wanted list, called the Black Book, was created in 1960.
It had 6 people that were originally put in it, and they were all organized crime figures. And these people were not allowed to enter any casino.
But as the old mobsters died off, a new generation of tech-savvy cheats took over, and they were added to the list.
You have to be a threat to the casino industry, and there's about 37 or 38 in the Black Book right now.
Most are career criminals who cheated the casinos for years before being caught.
Whenever you make an arrest on someone from a law enforcement standpoint, it's a success. So that's kind of how I view putting someone in the Black Book.
Once you're in the book, you have the right to dispute it, but no one has ever won their way or litigated their way out of it. The only way you get out of the Black Book is to die. Then they take you out.
One of the most notorious cheats to ever make the book targets the city's hardware.
It is an ongoing war in the industry between the manufacturers on the one side and the cheats on the other.
Enter the city's biggest moneymakers. In Vegas, there are 120,000 working slot machines, one for every 5 residents. They're called one-armed bandits because they're responsible for more than 75% of casino profits. And with all that money sitting on the casino floor, slots are, and always have been, glittering beacons for cheats looking for a quick payout. From the earliest days, cheats have tried fooling the machines with slugs or coins attached to strings that could then be pulled back out. But as the machines became more sophisticated, so did the cheats. One of the most successful slot cheats of all time is a former TV repairman named Tommy Carmichael. For more than 2 decades, Carmichael designed tools that enabled him and other cheats to scam millions from slot machines. And every Vegas slot machine you see today was engineered with Tommy Carmichael in mind.
The devices that Tommy Carmichael could create would allow a very surreptitious entry of a machine and a very surreptitious breaching of the security features of a machine that were successful and worked in a large population of the makes and models of slot machines out at that time.
This is 62-year-old Carmichael. He agreed to sit down for this exclusive interview to reveal how he took Vegas for a ride.
It was like a giant ATM. Just wherever you wanted to go for vacation, you went to withdraw also.
The story begins in Carmichael's TV repair shop.
A friend of his dropped by with what he told him was a cheating device to cheat slot machines, and it was called a top and bottom joint.
Here's how the top and bottom joint works. In 1980, slots had come a long way from the earliest machines. Originally, slotted discs were attached to the ends of 3 spinning reels inside. To hit a jackpot, all of the slots had to line up perfectly, and that's how slot machines got their name. But on the newer machines, levers are attached to the spinning reels. These levers have metal contacts on the ends, which rest against a fixed board that's also covered with contacts. The contacts are wired to a circuit board, and when a jackpot is won, a circuit completes and turns on the motor of the hopper, which dispenses the money. The cheating device brought into Carmichael's shop that day hot wires the hopper's motor, triggering a payout. This device, the top and bottom joint, comes in two parts. The bottom tool is made from a short piece of guitar string.
There was a small wire that went in the bottom left corner of the machine, and it went up against the circuit board that was in there.
The wire draws the current from the circuit board and sends a low wattage of electricity running through the slot machine. Then the top tool, a piece of metal shaped like the number 9, is inserted into the coin slot. This completes an electrical circuit powerful enough to activate the hopper that dispenses money, and the coins come flooding out. Carmichael's friend is making money hand over fist in Vegas, while Carmichael is barely scraping by in Tulsa. He wants in on the action. So he flies to Nevada to try his luck with his friend's device. In 1980, security cameras aren't around to capture his activities. In fact, they won't be installed throughout casinos for more than 9 years. Carmichael sits down at a slot machine, inserts the top and bottom joint, and suddenly, Tommy Carmichael has a new career: cheating Vegas. Carmichael begins commuting to Sin City to run his scam.
The machines held about $75 back then. On a good day, by working all day long, you might make $2,000 a day, which was good money.
Carmichael's daily take is the equivalent of more than $5,000 today.
I'd stay out there and let somebody else run the shop. I'd be out there a couple of months at a time, but when I'd come back, it seemed like the shop never made any money. So I finally just shut the shop down completely and moved out there and started from that point, actually.
Carmichael begins living large. He makes and buys new friends.
You know, you got Vegas, and it's designed to separate you from your money, which it's very good at. So even though you're making larger money, you're also spending larger money. We'd go to the show. We had some pretty good dinners. For me, $1,500, $1,800 for a meal, pretty good for 4 or 5 people.
He found a way to make money faster, and he didn't mind and probably enjoyed being a criminal. And so he decided it was worth the risk.
Beating the machines were never the problem. It was the people around you. Without drawing attention, you need to get this money out of the machine without them noticing it or hearing it or appearing that you're doing anything. That was the more complicated part of the whole thing.
To avoid suspicion, Carmichael never stays in one place too long. For 5 years, he hits casinos all over Vegas. Then, in 1985, the casinos catch some crooks using the top and bottom device. In response, slot machine manufacturers develop a way to recognize the surge of electricity the device creates.
They were putting slow blow fuses in machines, and if you tried to cheat it with the wire in, it would blow this fuse and it would shut down.
Soon, these upgraded slots are everywhere. And for Carmichael, it looks like the end for his easy money.
I was still making $200, $300, $400 a day if you were lucky, because everything was shrinking down to nothing.
To continue cheating, he has to find the old machines to prey on.
He would hit several slot machines in one casino at a time and empty them. And this brought suspicion on him.
On July 4th, 1985, Tommy Carmichael gets caught cheating while playing a slot machine near the Strip. Enforcement agents from the Nevada Gaming Control Board arrest him.
I had the tools on me. And when they searched me, they asked me, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, I believe you know." And that was pretty much it.
Carmichael is in serious trouble.
Cheating, especially using a device to cheat, is a felony, punishable by up to 6 years in prison for your first offense.
Carmichael is sentenced to 5 years. But while most people find their careers on hold during a prison stay, Tommy Carmichael uses it as a breeding ground for his next big scam.
Prison is a situation you pick your own friends. And there were slot players there, and so we all kind of hung out together.
One of these slot cheats is a man named Michael Balsamo. Balsamo has been in and out of prison since 1980.
Michael Balsamo was a career criminal. That was his life, that was his lifestyle. And he had pretty much dedicated himself to cheating the casino industry.
Carmichael and Balsamo realize they have a lot in common.
They were kind of a loose association in the sense that one helped the other out, and vice versa. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
And they started devising a plan of getting together when they got out of prison.
In 1987, Tommy Carmichael is the first to be released. His parole stipulated that he had to return to Tulsa and stay out of Vegas. Carmichael has no intention of complying. But since his TV business is long gone, he needs a cover. He makes a deal with a local contractor.
He had a construction site, and I was supposed to be a salesman for the construction site. So he was writing me a check, and I would turn it in as my salary. But I was living in Las Vegas. And every time I had to make an appearance from probation, I would actually fly from Vegas to Tulsa here and make my appearance, and then I get back on a plane, go back home to Vegas.
While he waits for Michael Balsamo to get out of jail, Carmichael cases out the casinos. Since his old tools no longer work, Carmichael needs a new one that will fool the latest generation of slot machines. He develops his boldest con yet, impersonating a casino owner.
He would go to the actual manufacturers, walk in, make himself sound like he was some sort of a person in the market to buy some new slot machines, and the salespeople would open up the doors, would take things apart, show it to him. He would talk to engineers at trade shows. They'd show him the guts of the machine.
For Carmichael, two things are now clear. One, hot wiring the hopper will not be an option. And two, in order for him to even figure out how to beat this machine, he'll need to buy one.
The Nevada regulatory system allows for the sales of slot machines. There are stores where you can go buy a slot machine. Anybody can buy a slot machine.
Problem is, the machine costs $1,000 and Carmichael is broke. And so is Michael Balsamo, who also just got paroled. They decide to raise the cash together by doing what they know. They travel all over Nevada, looking for the last of the old machines that they can still cheat.
We actually went and played the top and bottom joint, the old tool that we history on. We actually played nickels in order to get enough money to buy a new machine.
Once he has it, Carmichael gets to work.
Tommy Carmichael had the ability to take apart a slot machine, interrogate its security features, and develop techniques to sidestep them.
Carmichael soon realizes that the new machine has a weak point, the counter that regulates the amount of coins that will be paid out. He discovers that the counter can be overrun by tripping a tiny micro switch deep in the machine. With the counter out of commission, the machine just keeps spitting out money. But Carmichael must create a tool that can access this switch. No easy feat.
It took about 6 months to really come up with something really good on it. And it was called a slider. It was made out of a concrete trowel. And it was about 11.5 inches long. And it was thin metal. It went through an air hole in the machine.
Once inside, the slider has to slip underneath a secondary security door, then turn 10 degrees to engage the micro switch. But if Carmichael builds the tool with a fixed curve, it will get hung up on the hundreds of wires inside before ever reaching the door. This is a problem. But Carmichael has a stroke of inspiration. He threads piano wire through the nose of the tool so it can be adjusted after it passes beneath the door. It works.
And it would slide into the micro switch. and stop the count whenever. So the machine was always paying you, but it never knew how much it was paying you because you could actually keep it from counting.
With the slider, Carmichael and Balsamo are back in business. They split up. Balsamo takes a slider and begins hitting casinos all over the country. Carmichael stays to work Vegas.
That slider was making about $1,000 an hour because that's the speed that the machine would spit quarters out.
With the new device, Carmichael is making money 10 times faster than he ever has before. And for the next 2 years, he enjoys all the spoils of his craft. But then, in 1989, the casinos find a new tool as well. Advancements in security camera technology mean the cameras can now be installed anywhere. And in Vegas, this means everywhere. Casinos are now able to closely monitor all aspects of gaming, including slot machines. For Carmichael and Balsamo, avoiding the cameras becomes the #1 priority.
They would case an establishment. They would look for obstructions with cameras because the marketing department, they would hang signs. They would make the place beautiful. They would put up flowers. Well, all of a sudden, some of the best cameras for a particular area were masked. Well, the Tommy and Carmichaels of the world would come into a casino, and that's what they were looking for.
Carmichael gets away with it for a year. But then, in 1990, surveillance officers notice him acting suspiciously at a machine. They call in agents from the Nevada Gaming Control Board who follow Carmichael home and stake out his apartment building.
They were sitting in the parking lot and was going to try to catch me in the casino.
But Carmichael gets a lucky break.
And for some reason, that night, they pulled off me to go do something else. And when they came back the next day, I was gone. I had moved into a house, and of course, we were getting everything under different names and everything. So when they came back, I had disappeared on them.
It's a close call. Carmichael will have to be more careful in the future. Months later, casinos unveil the latest slots designed to protect the money counter. Overnight, Carmichael's slider becomes obsolete. In the game of cheats versus casinos, the casinos are back on top. But once again, Carmichael isn't willing to give up the fight.
I was asked one time, did I ever feel guilty about taking the money from the casinos? And I have actually asked myself, I said, you try to reason these things out, and I'm thinking, well,